There's some people that get in trouble.
Check one, check two.
We are live.
You go active and then you
Oh, right.
Okay, calling to order the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting of March the 3rd, 2016, and it's about 6:04. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Here.
Commissioner Roddick,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Vice Chair Intner,
Here.
Commissioner Firestone,
Here.
Commissioner Ford.
Here.
And our Chair, Adam Dutter, is absent.
Do we have any public comment cards? Oh, sorry. Actually, the Pledge of Allegiance. I apologize. Ryan, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, okay, now public comments.
I do not have any speaker cards.
Okay, great. And we don't have any presentations tonight? Okay, so moving on. Police Department report.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to report that we haven't had any major issues at any of the parks for the last month. I did a records check, and I saw that we had 60 calls for services at the local parks. That may seem like a lot, however, 50 of those were where deputies went to the park and put themselves out on foot, so they are considered foot patrols. Of the 10 remaining calls, one was animal cruelty where somebody locked a dog in a car. 3 of them were people who were intoxicated. One out of those 3 calls, one person was arrested. The other 2 calls, the deputies couldn't find the people. At the skateboard park, there were 2 arrests. One, somebody was under the influence of a drug, and the other one was a warrant arrest. So that's all the calls for services at the park. So that's all I have for you tonight, unless anybody has any questions.
Oh, well, one, I know, I guess, good piece of news, at least from the police side of things. Could you share a little bit about the the recent arrests on the trailhead burglaries?
Certainly. In fact, it was a good effort by our deputies and our detectives. In the beginning of February, somebody was at the Bryant Gym, and she had her car broken into, and her purse was stolen. Our detectives got that case, and they started following up because the suspects were using her credit cards at different businesses in Ventura and Oxnard. From that, we were able to get surveillance photos, and as we were putting the case together, of course, there was another vehicle burglary at the Pratt Trailhead. Turns out it was the same suspects. And so as we're digging into it, we finally got them identified. And as we were looking for them, and we found them last week in Ventura, when we arrested them, they had stolen property from the burglary at the gym and the Pratt Trailhead. But that morning, they had committed a vehicle burglary in Malibu, and they had stolen property from the victim from the Malibu burglary. After the whole investigation was over, we were able to pin them to vehicle burglaries in Carpinteria, Oxnard, and Port Hueneme. So these are the type of individuals that they wake up or stay up all night. They do their crime, they steal their money, use their credit cards, and that's their job. So it was a job well done by our detectives and deputies, and I'm sure it's going to have a great, influence on the community. So, but I like to remind people when they do visit parks and trailheads, anywhere where you might leave your purse or any valuable items in the car, please don't do that. Put it in the trunk. Don't bring it at all. But because crooks, especially vehicle burglars, they walk around. They know people are away from their car on a long hike. They'll look in the car and they'll look for valuables. And when nobody's around, it only takes a split second to break a window. They grab it and they're gone. So it's one of our major problems we're having, not only in the Ojai Valley, but Ventura County, and in fact, Southern California. So please, if you know friends that go to trailheads or recreation areas, tell them to please lock up their stuff. So.
Thank you, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Isn't there a congratulations in order all around for Ojai? I read in the paper the other day that Ojai had one of the lowest crime rates in the county.
It has. Thank God, too. You know, sometimes you don't have control over it because, you know, you can't control crime.
Congratulations to you guys on that.
But I know, again, I just got to the Ojai station. I've been here for about a month, but this 1 month I've been very impressed with the deputies. They're very energetic. They want to do a good job, and when they are out on patrol, they're looking to make this a better community. So I'm very impressed with the work they do. So,
That's great. Thank you so much.
All
Thanks for
right.
coming tonight.
all right, thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay, Public Works report. Greg is up.
Good evening, everybody, the commission, chair and commissioners. Yeah, just a quick couple items. We did meet up at Clef Vista with the Clef family and the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy, Rick Basacha. We normally meet them every year about this time, when the weeds are coming up strong, which they're coming out early this year and strong. And so we went up there, and everybody's pretty happy. We've been kind of had a increased emphasis to really get the weeds under control and get it back to the condition, a little better condition. They've been neglected for some years. So that seems to be working well, and we had agreed to replace the signage. You know, there's signage up there that directs to what kind of plants were put in the park. I think the park is 10 years old right now. Does that sound about right? 2006, I think. Clef Vista, yeah. So anyways, some of the signage became outdated because of certain plants just weren't able to be established and be maintained. So we work with Tom Bostrom, and we're splitting the cost with Ojai Valley Land Conservancy, the Clef family, and the city to put the new signage in. And thought I'd mention also, yeah, the bidding is underway over there for Sarzati picnic shade areas. The county had reviewed the bid document and had a couple comments on housing and urban development requirements. There's a whole ton of, it's going to be interesting how many bidders we have on this. There's a huge amount of additional information required for that 1/3 $80,000 portion of money. But we've got it all in there at this point because we've been through it several times.
So is it changes to the design, or?
Doesn't touch the design one bit. It's just a huge appendix of all kinds of, a lot of it's Fair Labor Standards Act's requirements.
Okay, so
And
it's the requirements that the contractors themselves need to meet to even apply for.
yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of administrative type things, mostly about Fair Labor Standards, and also they call it Section 3, where you can be a qualified contractor, or you can hire qualified. They have to try to hire very low-income people to work on the project as well. And so there's all kinds of requirements and extra documents and review and all that that's done for it. It's pretty crazy. So we got that. I was trying to think, and at Libby Park, you might have heard at the last council meeting, you know, as part of the Libby Bowl committee they've formed to try to get connected with the community and what they're looking for at Libby Bowl. And Commissioner Haney, Councilman Haney's the head of that group. And one of the additions to the motion was to look into fixing the lawn issue at Libby Bowl. So that's actually on the agenda for the council. On Tuesday, there's a surplus soil over at the Topo Winery that we're looking at maybe grabbing that they're basically giving the soil for the cost of transportation. So it's nice and close. We're looking at stocking up soil in the public works yard. And so that's up for consideration by them as well.
That's very exciting.
What is the lawn issue?
I'm sorry?
What is the lawn issue?
Back when the bowl was built, it's getting to be 5 years ago now, you know, I think at the very end of it was just before my time, so I can say that the ADA issue came up for enough seating, so they made that bigger platform right at the top of the seating. And that basically pinched off the line of sight from the lawn area. If you look at the stage and you're seating now, you can't see directly. You've got to stand up, I think, to see.
Which is a change from the previous bowl. In the previous bowl, you could sit there and you could see, because it went up like this, and you could have a view of the stage. And with that addition, it flattened it out, and so there isn't. So you're going to create like a slope.
And when the
And then-
Ojai Music Festival, back right after I got here, we looked at options. So we worked with Studio Landscape, Kathy Nolan, and Martin Hartman from the Dave Bury architect firm, and we worked out some pretty good concept plans.
That's great.
So there's a couple options there. You know, one was kind of where you walk onto the grass. If you're heading out on the grass from the stage, it was to have some kind of long, wide steps out in the front there that act as kind of retaining wall to bring up the height. and then a lot of soil fill across the whole lawn area. But there's a large oak tree in the middle of the lawn area, so there'd be kind of a protection around that little retaining wall. And then that whole brick sidewalk would have either a retaining wall or it could be a slope back. There's a couple alternatives like that. So it was in the range of, I think, 500 yards of soil. It's not crazy huge, but it's a pretty good pile of dirt. And dirt is, the price of dirt can vary like mad depending on how available it is. If you have to haul it in from across the county, it's very expensive. But if it's available in a development like that, it's a great
Well, I
opportunity.
think that's great. I'm really excited to hear that's going to council.
How soon are you looking at doing that, Greg?
Well, it's really, it just happened at the last meeting, just talking about it. So it'll be interesting, this conversation on Tuesday, if they're willing to go ahead. And it was a commitment of a smaller amount of money, a couple $1,000+ really. And so that, I think Councilman Haney's pretty gung-ho to push it forward and rally the community to see if they're willing to help out with it. A lot of the expenses in, you can put the soil aside, is putting in the retaining walls and placing all that, and it all adds up. It'd be an interesting community effort if it came that way, or how it shakes out.
Exciting.
So, yeah, where are we at now? Could it happen this summer? Probably not during the production season, but possibly the fall, something like that, if it really comes together quickly. That'd be quick for us. We'll see. I did want to mention, too, that the other item that's on the agenda for the council is the trash cans, recycling cans that we've all been through a little bit, and I appreciate your help on that. And I went and reviewed those with the Planning Commission last night, and they agreed with your recommendation. So that's good. So go to the council. And part of that, Steve, did you provide a copy of that? I don't know, about the letter that's the administrative report. And basically at the very end of the report,
It's on the dais.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's, if you look at the administrative report, at the very end, there's the bigger last paragraph under fiscal impact. It basically talks about the commission, your commission had recommended that if we exceeded cost, and we went through an estimated cost on the project, and I think that was maybe sent out to everyone previously. I'm not sure how that was handled. But we went through, and it appears that we are nearly $20,000 over budget for the playground. Looking at all the, I mean, we had substantial donations, but we also, all the cost added up, it appears to be nearly $20,000 over. Not too bad for a 300, what do our final numbers come out at? 372,000. So percentage-wise, not too bad. What does that put us at? Somewhere around, I don't know, 7% or so. And so what we recommended to the council is that, yeah, we are $19,000, almost $20,000 over, and per your recommendation, that we short and pull that from the trash recycle can project. But also, in an effort to kind of be consistent with all the trash can replacements, we're recommending that we pull that $20,000 from the capital improvement fund to make sure we can do the whole project. So it really rolls it over and lands up covering the project as originally proposed. So we did finally get our numbers together anyways.
Okay.
That's good
So
news.
Fund 31 is the city's capital improvement fund?
Yes.
Okay.
What was the total cost of the Libby playground project? What did you say that was?
Well, we're going to talk about it later, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I guess.
Oh, were you going to talk about it more? I wasn't quite sure.
Well,
No.
I would recommend we take it up now if we have any
No, okay,
questions,
so
since
it's-
we
Yeah.
have Mr. Grant here.
And I'm sorry, yeah, the total revenue was 372, or 373,000, and the total expenses is 393.
Do we have this anywhere in print?
I've got it in my hand if somebody wanted it. I can make a quick copy and bring it back.
Sure,
Yeah.
Do you mind? Thank you. I think it'll be easier to talk about.
sure.
Do you want to do our minutes while we're waiting? Can we move to minutes and then back again? We have minutes for our January 7th and January 25th meetings. Any comments, changes, questions?
I have a copy of them, actually.
I'm sorry?
I said I don't have a copy of them, actually.
Oh, sorry.
I do have one minor correction to the minutes of the January 7th.
Okay.
On be the second page of the minutes at the top, under discussion items 8, It says Sarzati Park Master Plan, and the agenda item was actually Sarzati Park Shelter Locations.
Shelter location, okay.
So just to keep that consistent, would recommend that change. Thank you, Greg.
Which one, Greg? Or
On the January 7th?
Yeah, the January 7th minutes, top of page 2, we have the discussion item listed as Sarzati Park Master Plan. It should state Sarzati Park Shelter Locations
Okay.
to be consistent with the agenda.
do you need these back?
You can keep it now. Any other changes or comments? Anybody have a motion?
Motion we approve?
Do we need to say which ones, or can we do them both together?
Well, maybe the maker of the motion could
Make
specify?
a motion to approve January the 7th regular meeting minutes.
And we've got a second.
I'll second that.
And,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Make another motion to approve January 25th, 2016 special meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motions carry, and our minutes are approved. Okay, back to you, Greg.
Okay. All right, so I just passed out the summary that I created. And if you look under the revenue portion, that talks about 285,000 was a capital improvement fund allocation. I subtracted the 17,000 we assumed from Rotary. And down below, I put in the actual from Rotary, which is 15,625. And there was also 18,516 revenue report, which was, those were through Rotary.
So those were like for the bricks and the
Some equipment.
sponsorship of some of the equipment?
Right.
Okay, which some
Exactly.
of that, to be clear, came directly to the city and some went to Rotary.
And then there's another one, right. Okay, the next line was from the art fund, so that was directly contributed from the art fund. And then we have 1,517 was PayPal, which was in process per Allison. And then we had 24,445 for bricks and equipment donation. Okay, the very end there, the 24, I had to straighten that out, sorry, my mind, it was 24,445, that was the one through Rotary. The one up on top, the 18,516, was directly through the city. So
Okay.
the total amount of revenues is 372 or 373,000 rounded off. And then for expenses, basically, there's just a long list, so it was a general ledger report. For last fiscal year, we had very minor expenses, but this year we had the primary 345,978. We had a few issues to straighten out. There were some electronic fund transfers that I just noted there for my own history that weren't showing up that we got straightened out. And then the remaining expenses, really, we have the bricks, plaques, which have all been ordered. And by the way, just for your information, I think that you worked on that, Chair Intners, that the bricks, they were going to deliver them by May 31st, I think. And so now we're going to get them early April.
Oh, excellent.
So that's
Okay.
nice.
That's
Yeah,
great.
we just worked that out with
So
them.
for the public, the bricks are coming?
Yes, right. So the bricks,
They'll be here in April?
which is not far away. They're really saying,
And we haven't scheduled the project for the path yet, but we will be ready to go
right,
with
we're
that.
going to try to do that at the same time. yeah.
Okay, great. And then it's the plaques. Will you give us an update on that, just since we're?
Yes, and the plaques were, trying to think of,
I know there are a few that you're waiting on.
I think we have all the plaques, all that straightened out, and it's all ordered, and I think they were trying to expedite that order as well, and they had kind of a couple hang-ups that we were kind of fussing around about how to bond it, but
Okay.
it's
But so they
amazing.
should be up by the end of March.
They, yeah, so they should be here by the end of March, and we plan to put them in immediately. We've had some lengthy discussions with, it's pretty amazing to contact 3M, they've got all these technical experts there for every kind of
Big bonding agent.
two-part bonding agent you could imagine. So you want to bond metal to plastics, even HDP, which I've dealt with that stuff for a long time, my previous career, and it was always supposedly you can't glue to that stuff, you know? Well, they have a glue now that glues to that stuff. It's not cheap,
Okay.
but
Well, that's good. So everyone will know
Yeah.
that the plaques are coming either at the end of March or early April.
yes.
Okay.
So it
And
was
then
just,
we just do the art update as well?
and the art update.
Since we're in the middle of this and the public's out there, so we can just let everybody know.
You know, I was supposed to meet with Doug Lackner about something at the museum, so he's doing the gates at the museum. And he said, it's been almost a couple of weeks that he said he hadn't gotten that yet from China, the
Okay,
stainless steel ball.
reflecting.
But yeah, we were
Stainless steel ball.
going to talk further about that. I'll follow up with more.
So nothing yet, but
Right.
that's the update.
It sounds like everything basically will come together, but
Okay.
in April, we'll have the donors walkway, all the plaques up, and I would assume that the art should be up by then.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, now, sorry, back to comments.
All right.
Well, sorry. as long as we're doing timeline stuff, the other loose ends, the misters,
The misters, we should get on the list as well, right?
so no,
Along with the shade too, because we had issues with the shade, that the poles weren't quite, we had to remount all the poles and reset the poles and all that stuff like that, so. But we had them all exactly measured and submitted, and we didn't get a date back on them, so we were trying to make sure with this early heat that we got them up soon.
Yeah.
So we'll get the misters on the list as well.
Okay, so next month you might have an update on that.
Okay,
when those-
sure.
Those two will happen, the
Uh-huh.
shade and the misters?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
Misters
Brian.
and shade, yeah. So I think that was the financial update, and then on the whole playground.
Okay.
And then the update as well about the trash cans and all that. So any other questions, we've got to answer.
I think that's great. Any other questions? All right.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Thank Greg.
Okay, we are on to discussion items. Sarzodi Park Master Plan update. And I'll hand that over to you.
Thank you. So, at the last meeting, the commission went through in detail and reviewed the, basically their, more or less their final concept draft, and provided some further comments back on that, which we provided to the consultant. And we've included those in the staff report here. So wanted to go through those and see if the commission had any further comments on what we heard back from the consultant, or any other thoughts or ideas. Hoping if the commission feels okay at this point that we could give some direction to the consultant to start moving towards the Phase 3 deliverables. It will ultimately come back to this body again. But if the commission feels ready, it'd be nice to be able to give that direction to the consultant after tonight, and we can, like I said, he can start working on the actual deliverables for Phase 3. We can get that scheduled to go to the Planning Commission. Obviously, it would come to Parks and Rec Commission before it ultimately went to council for consideration. So we're getting closer. So just to go through some of the comments and the responses from the previous meeting, one of the questions was whether it made sense to, I guess I should take this moment to talk about Mr. Katsis's props here. So he gave us, why are there two buttons? What are the two buttons?
One's the flashlight and the other one's.
Oh, okay, okay, so we now have laser pointers.
Get on board, man.
So, and of course, he puts the map where I can't really see it, so that's good.
Come over to my
So,
way, Mr.
that's okay. One of the questions we have, so I'll try this, I'll see if this works, was to see if there was any advantage to converting this area to angled parking. And the consultant said that it would actually reduce the number of spaces.
Did he give you, I was curious how many spaces, because I think we knew that the spaces would be reduced, but we thought there was value in how much more you'd keep in the front.
Okay.
So I saw that in the notes, it just says
Yeah,
spaces. I'd love
right.
to know how many, because I think
Okay,
it's a quantitative, for me, it's a quantitative thing to understand what you're losing,
right,
Is-
okay,
trade-off.
okay.
Also, until, I mean, the placement of the current rec center would interfere with some of the parking
Yeah.
as drawn there. So we wouldn't actually have all those spots.
Anyway.
We'll take advantage of a pointer, you mean the Void Center, right?
Yeah, the
you.
current structure.
Yeah.
And I think that was why we were asking about it, was because it would work better to have angled spots with the current facility.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't tell from this distance if that little.
It's just really close, though.
The little line, the dotted line.
I didn't see that.
Does it go into the parking lot?
I didn't see that anymore.
It's there, like I can see the dotted line, but I can't tell if it goes into the parking lot or not.
Well, and again, how accurate are all of these, as we've
Yeah.
learned in many other experiences with tree placements and other.
Okay, so the question then, if I understand it back to the consultant, would be, if we were to do a parking lot reconfiguration there, but assuming that we still had the Boyd Center in its current location, what would that mean for options here? And also, and if we were to do the angle parking here, what would that mean in
What do we
terms of a
lose?
loss?
Yes,
Yeah.
and in
Okay.
total, where will we be compared to our original parking numbers?
Oh, okay,
That was where I'm curious, because we're taking out the side parking, and we're putting in this parking, and we're losing the little lot.
Okay, net gain to law, okay.
And then actually, if you do look closely at the map that we had in our packet, it shows the dotted line in the parking lot.
Yeah,
So maybe what they could do too is prepare, I know maybe this doesn't work, but an alternate.
mm-hmm,
It shows an alternate plan with the angled parking and one with this parking.
Okay.
With an accounting of parking in both, the total number of spaces, both compared to what we have now.
right, for both, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, I think that's a, we could
And
ask them to do that option.
For the option as drawn here, if some of those spots aren't going to be available because of the Boyd Center, just to know how many spots that is.
Okay,
Oh, right, even if you kept it at the non-angled parking,
Yeah.
what would you lose?
Yeah,
Right.
if anything,
As a comparison
right.
to what you would do anyway, that makes sense.
so probably we want to know net gain loss to this plan as drawn, to, if we keep with the Boyd Center at the current location, what would that mean? And then also, I guess it'd be then the subset for both of those questions if you were to do the angled parking. So I guess it's really 4 numbers we're looking for there.
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
well, because you're looking at this plan as it is, I think the net gain and loss, but also specifically how many you lose because of the building,
Mm-hmm.
as a subset of that.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Okay.
I should
good,
be able to
thank you.
provide that, okay. So then the next thing we asked was we wanted to have them give us some examples of what they're proposing, what we might be seeing in the teen area. And they provided a series of images of examples, which are just suggestions. And
Does everybody have those, or anybody have those? You got them? Okay. I'll pass them down this way, and then we can pass them back. Here, I'll
Didn't we
send.
have, it was in our email though.
It was in
it was in the packet.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody didn't see it, if anybody wants to
I-
look
I
at these.
missed it.
Yeah, there you go.
So they provided just some examples there of things that you might typically see. They were really just showing some exercise station and typical things like that. So they didn't, in my mind, really specify or break out what you might see that would make that a teen area.
Well, I think they did. I think that there's specific
is- I
equipment
missed
that
it.
is teen equipment, and
Okay.
we can't show it to
Looked
everybody,
like
which
there
is too
was a
bad.
big,
But it's
long-
rather large and like
Yeah,
almost
it's
like a
like a big
sliding
giant sliding
equipment.
thing.
And then a big spinning unit that accommodates like full-size people and a couple of other things. I think it's hard to see in a picture exactly what it does.
Yeah, a little
They've
hard.
showed us other pictures before, so I know what they're talking about, but,
I recognize the description of
That swing.
Yeah, I've seen
I don't know if it's a
in Moore
swing.
Park or something.
Moore Park
like
has one of
that.
those?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you stand on it, and you've got your feet, and you can go way up and way this way.
Okay.
Well, next week, Allison and I are actually going to a CPRS conference, and at the convention center, they have
They'll have examples of all
they'll
that
have
stuff.
a bunch of vendors there. So I'll actually bring some of these photos along to see if
You can
any
find
of them
the-
match up with some of the
So some of the
commercial
images were of
items.
the teen equipment, which is a larger scale, I would say, they aren't fancy colors and they're not, you literally get on and you do something. One of them looked like it's a big spinning one, and the other is you can slide up and down, and then there were some images of the, though they were a little fuzzy, of the equipment, like exercise stations, and it looked like some
They
of
were
them.
very small images.
More of an in-depth experience with the toy instead of not just like a swing where you go back and forth, but there's
With the other, yes,
more-
and using larger
more thought
muscle
into
groups
it,
and bigger,
yeah, where
yeah,
you use kind of your own weight to.
propel yourself.
Yeah.
It's a little more exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
For the teen stuff, absolutely. And then the stations, I had a hard time viewing them on mine. They were a little bit fuzzy. But,
Yeah, they weren't very good photographs.
And then the other images we got were not of equipment, but we'll move on to those and we'll
Yeah,
talk about when we get
right,
there.
right. So, again, we had just asked for some examples of what they were kind of thinking to do in the teen area, so that's what they proposed. So if we have any other thoughts or feedback, be happy to pass that along. Okay, should we go on? So we should talk about the futsal fields. Okay, so one of the things we want to know is just how would that work? Again, because the concept is it's a fenced-in area, and how would you work that with basketball? So we were kind of trying to figure out and visualize that. So fortunately, I think they did provide us some pretty good images on that.
They did, yeah. Though interestingly, One of them is grass.
Yeah, I was,
It's
it was,
like a
it was
grass
hard,
basketball court with
Yeah.
futsal at the bottom.
it was hard for me to tell, so, right,
Clearly not what we've gotten requests for here. But,
right.
but it does illustrate how you can have the standard for the basketball with the small goal around it and how they've implemented that in another,
Right.
Just to put it in perspective, so I printed up the actual dimensions of the futsal court. So if you look up top where it says playing court and it has minimum length and minimum width and maximum. So on the minimums, it says 82 feet by 49 feet. 80, well, it says 25 meters, but that's actually 82 feet.
Okay.
And the minimum width is 15 meters or 49 feet. That happens to be almost the exact dimensions. I did the measurements. It's almost the exact measurements of the indoor court at Sarasota Park. The John Martin Gym is 50 by 80 feet.
So it's a short court.
It
Yeah.
may be, if you're talking regulation, but the gym, it is the gym, not including, out of bounds sideline, anything like that. But the actual dimensions of the gym are 50 by 80, which is basically what the minimum dimensions of the futsal court are. So they're almost by a couple of feet, depending on length and width, so. I can see that, it's quite a large size, and we measured that court. If you put that size court outside of our gym, it takes up a lot of space. So if you were going to replicate the outdoor basketball court as it is inside the gym, it consumes a lot of that, what we call the backyard area.
So what you're specifically speaking
FYI.
to now is the basketball court.
Yes, but
Okay.
but if you're going to take futsal courts, if you want to make them minimum regulation size, they're 50 by 80 feet. They're
And-
the size of our basketball court that we
Right.
have in the gym. So if you're putting them in that location there,
Right. And that's why it works,
that location
correct?
there, that's going to be, if you want to make it regulation, minimum regulation, it's going to be 50 by 80 feet. Just
But do you have a sense of how big they're drawn there?
I don't.
Okay.
That's what I mean. I don't know what.
I don't think you'll have any problem back there. That's a pretty good size area.
Yeah.
It is a big area.
Well, and also, I think to accommodate basketball there, it'd have to be bigger because the futsal has those walls. So
Yeah,
the
you
basketball court would need space between the out of bounds and that wall.
Right, at our gym, there's 10, basically, if you split it up, it's actually interesting, but it's like 4 feet on one side and 6 foot on another, the way they built it at Sarasota, but, whatever, 5 and 5 on either side. You would allow somewhere between 4 to 5 feet on the side of the basket, and they recommend minimum, I think, of, on the end lines of the basketball court, 7 feet. They prefer 10 feet, but I think it's minimum of 6 feet from the end line to give you space to keep going.
Well,
so you
I think
injure yourself.
when we talked about this last time, and when the consultant was here, we were very specific that it would be a full-size basketball court
Right.
that worked for futsal. So I feel confident that that's what, and he said that it was, and then the question, he confirmed that it was a full-size basketball court. And then our question was, does it work for futsal and how does that work? And so what he's given us is images of how you could have the standard with the goal within the fenced area.
Right,
So
right.
do we have a specific question beyond that?
Well, you're talking about the back basketball court, this one here. You said it
Yeah.
takes up a good majority.
It does.
Well, then why not we plan on going over here with this one right away? We could do something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask the
Yeah.
commission. As I started to look at this last week, kind of dawned on me, and almost like why, and again, there certainly there would be
Kill two birds.
even better. I mean, you could always argue, it's like having a third car. It's, but can, in the car, how do we fit this all into the cards going forward? Do we need to have futsal field and an outdoor basketball court, or does it make sense just to combine those into one?
I think that would be
And,
the best thing to do is
And
combine it.
I know there's concerns that it's a little ways from the gym, but that park is not that big.
No.
I think it's accessible.
Yeah, given the two choices, just speaking, as an individual here, my own opinion, at least initially, to see the uses, to see if it's going to be necessary to build another basketball court and
Well, you're going to
consume that
eventually
much
have two
space.
of them, eventually.
Yeah.
And so if we come down the road, but this might leave this area over here to where we can expand out for
Which area are you pointing
You're
to?
Yeah,
talking-
which area?
You're talking here.
this one here.
Right
Yeah.
there, uh-huh.
Yeah, that one there, we could put more of the lifting equipment and stuff out there too.
I think we established last time there'd be room for both, as there is space with the current building to do both. But I agree, I think that having them out there and having two there, I think it really works. And I don't think the park's so big that it's a problem.
It's not horrible that it's.
Because I think the court right there
far away from the
really
gym, I suppose.
doesn't fit that well with that kind of space. It eats up a huge, what should be a multi-use area instead of a very specific use. And it's so well positioned out in that corner that really doesn't have a use at this point.
My opinion is, I think it would be better to go ahead and concentrate more on that, because we're only gonna spend little bit more by doing the foosball. That's the markings, I guess, is probably what
Right.
it would entail. But, excuse me, that way it's out there, then we've got another area there that we can really look at and see if we can incorporate something else that we might want to incorporate into that one area that's closer.
So is
to
the
that.
recommendation at this point to remove the court adjacent to the gym and focus on building the two courts that are the multi-court and futsal out in the corner?
Let me play devil's advocate for a moment.
Okay.
Not because I'm trying to steer you in any direction, but just because I had a couple of thoughts. One, and I don't think we've really talked about this too much, I don't know how much there is a desire going forward to ultimately eventually have lights for the outdoor court. So it would seem to me it would be problematic to do lights out here
Why is that?
because it's so close to the homes. Maybe not.
Oh, can I ask one question? Mm-hmm. Was this the orientation we wanted, or was it a turned orientation that we were looking at?
No, it's this one.
This is the
I,
one. Okay.
yeah, I think he flipped it.
It
from
was
that.
originally, it was the other way around.
So anyways,
Okay.
might not be a consideration, but just something to think about going forward. I'm just saying, if you did want to do lights, it might be easier to do something there than over
To
there.
be honest with
Maybe
you, I
not.
think they'll love lights out there for all the years of what goes on in that.
Could be,
corner. So.
could be.
Well, and there's
Well,
already lights out there.
Of course, they'll only have lights on when there's actually people out there doing something, so that's, might still have that problem. So the other thing, just let me to throw out there would be with the futsals, as I understand, this is, it's that all-purpose surface. It's not the same surface that you would have over here where it'd be, a hard poured surface. It'd be, so that might be, again, I don't know how that would affect pickup games,
What is
the
an
use of the
What is
court.
an all-purpose surface?
Well, it's,
Well, I suppose you could do some sort of rubberized, almost
think-
like a Nordoff track.
What did they propose in the cost for that?
yeah, I don't know if it was
Rubberized,
DG
material.
or.
I don't think so. I think
No, I think
it's
it was concrete.
concrete.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
I
Yeah.
think it was-
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
nor-
okay.
It's a normal hard court, that one
Okay.
is as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting confused then, thinking it was like a hardscape type thing, but it's.
No, it's a
poured.
concrete. That's what I
Okay.
read in the cost, yeah?
That's what I did too.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that's
Yeah.
not an issue then, okay.
Is,
I mean, futsal people, well, they're not really futsal players, but they're playing on the tennis courts currently, so that surface I don't think is maybe a factor in safety or
Yeah, it says
how
concrete.
they play the game. Obviously, they're not
Okay,
doing
thank
slide
you.
tackles or anything like
Yeah, for some reason I'd got in my head, maybe looking at that,
was
thinking
the-
it was
it was
gonna
the-
be
yeah, it's what
the
they sent
turf
us,
or
that turf,
decomposed
yeah.
granite or something like that, so, okay, all right.
Okay, so the concern with the lights, we have a light standard. It's not it's a concern of the light that will be, the light being there. It's not
The
a
light
concern of
impact.
getting it in there.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
we have a light standard
It's-
out right
it's
over
just-
there.
That's true.
It's already a light standard there and
Right there, there's a
Okay.
light standard that's right in here, and I think,
Yeah.
I
And
think
there's
they
one-
just last year ran electrical down to get around in the corner there. So,
I'm not sure about that, but it would already provide some ambient light already on those courts when those lights are on.
That are already
It'll
there.
light, it'll partially light those.
Okay,
courts
good
anyway.
points.
yeah.
I really like the idea of, I don't like the one in the middle.
No, I think out there, that would be another, like a section for this, section for this, you know, so you got the teen, you got the other one, so now you got this foosball and outdoor basketball courts.
And I think that was in response, from my remembering the meeting, to wanting to have one right away. And that would be, and putting it there because it's adjacent to the gym.
Well,
But
that
if-
would be awesome, because then we could get them off of the tennis courts, and they would have a surface to play on also.
You could do two things at once.
Yeah.
I know, Sophocles, you had expressed interest in having the basketball courts right next to the gym
Well,
for,
I did, but after measuring it out, it really takes a big space, a big usable space, a space that
Like volleyball is there.
volleyball uses, and even soccer.
That
they
might be
usually
the other
has a
thing, we might look
smaller
at
soccer
that
field even out there.
for a big
so.
volleyball area, you know, I mean.
Yeah, it's a good family
Multi.
area, just where people can run and play frisbee, and it's a good open area, and that court really, as
Eats
much
it
as
up.
I personally wanted it there, it really takes up.
Well, and where are we gonna do our future recreation open houses since we won't have,
Or there's no front lawn.
won't have the front
Exactly.
lawn? So we'll have to move it over here.
Yeah, or.
Right in that courtyard, the all concrete court.
I know. Well, and the soccer fields are always, they're playing soccer while we have that every year. All right, so do we feel like maybe we'd like to, the suggestion is to remove that one?
Well,
and
I would
focus on
make
the
a
two? How
suggestion
does
that we do
everyone?
that. It depends on what everybody else wants, but I think by eliminating that one over there and by putting one out there, that's something that we're basically trying to plan for in the near future anyway. So why not do the whole thing as we go?
Well, and satisfy two sports at once. Yeah,
Exactly.
I like that a lot.
yeah.
Are we sure you can play basketball on a futsal with their feet?
Well, if you concrete if you make it a hard surface concrete.
And I'm talking about the fencing part. Isn't that part of the futsal?
You
So
are,
that's-
yes. So you would have to,
You're gonna pull.
I'm not concerned about the
yeah,
the
you'd have
surface.
to extend the futsal court. You know, it's not going to be perfectly within the futsal lines. But again, the futsal says, you know, the minimum is 82 feet, or, well, 25 meters or 82 feet. And the width is 15 meters or 49 feet. It's okay for basketball, you will have to go, if you make it similar to our gymnasium size, which is 50 by 80, to allow for safety, you will have to go outside of the 50-foot width. Let's say 60, you'll have to go 60 feet for that foot, though, on the width for the basketball court, and another probably almost 100 feet if you really want to go max on the end lines. You could go, if you want to get detailed, like 94 feet. So I'm thinking basketball court fenced in, it's going to be 60 feet by 90 feet to be safe. But it's okay for the futsal court.
Oh, it is.
Because
So-
the futsal court can be,
So they just play off lines then? They don't play off the fence? Is it like soccer in that sense?
they are playing off the fence,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
But
So the
there's a-
futsal,
You'll have to
the
Google
futsal, it's
and
going to
how
be
it works,
larger than the basketball.
Right,
Which then gives
But
you
it's-
what you're looking
which
for
is
on the
okay.
width.
But it's okay.
And that's okay.
Futsal-
It's okay.
It is, because
There's a pretty
futsal
big
minimum
range.
is,
Yeah.
again, 49 feet in width and 82 feet in length. So if you go over that, it's not a problem.
Okay.
And I think they do play the fence. I think the out of bounds, well, there is no out of bounds. You just play.
Why don't
Within
we?
the
Well, see, that's
I
just
think
it,
that-
because you'd really want to put two courts side by side.
And then
you
there's a
probably,
little-
and you don't want to put a fence.
What I would
I mean,
do
if
is like on here.
Oh, yeah.
I would fill that whole center area in concrete and just do your fence, come around the complete perimeter of
He has
this
a
one.
divider in
then
there,
you
too.
don't have a-
That's what he's got between
Right.
the two.
See,
Go in the middle
I know
fast.
what
a little
you're
fuzzy
saying.
with the
Just have
futsal
a
part.
basketball court and at a specific, you won't have to have as big a dimension or extension because it'll just be open.
I think-
Whereas futsal, you can get it right up to minimum dimensions.
And I think
That's what you're saying.
we've had this conversation with the consultant last time, which he assured that it is safe, it does meet basketball regulations, and there was enough on the side. That was what I heard. I'm not an expert on this, but let's reconfirm it one more time. But he was clear
Yeah.
that it would be a functioning, safe
We could just
basketball court
reconfirm
with the
that. I would
clearances.
feel
Yeah.
better too.
Yeah.
So we
What
have.
what are the dimensions going to have to be to make sure that it is a regulation court or whatever?
Right.
He was certain, he felt very confident that you can do both of these safely with this same facility and that it has been done.
Yeah. So we have the dimensions now. I mean, we're talking numbers. It'd be good for them to kind of confirm this and make sure that fits into what they've drawn.
Maybe
That's
they
not
could do us a
bigger.
detailed schematic of this, and that may not be the right term, but give us a plan that shows just this, with all of the, here's the clearance on here, here are the lines for futsal, here are the lines for basketball, with all of the dimensions.
We could ask them to
Well,
come back.
that's kind of
We
what
could
they've
see
done
that.
here, in a way, that
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah.
But this, I mean,
where the
this
fence
was
lines are and all
photoshopped
that.
here, because you're not gonna play basketball on grass.
No,
So
that one's-
they've actually photoshopped this whole, the lines and everything, and
But so if they could come back to us with where the fence will be, where the court lines will be, the distance, like all of the dimensions specifically, I think then we could have confidence that it was going to work.
Okay.
And they felt,
and the
he felt
goals
confident that it would.
are movable.
I
The
imagine-
basketball would be a stanchion, but the
Right.
goals, apparently, because again, you're not gonna play basketball.
I think there are
Where
a
the-
couple photos that are in this packet that show the basketball lines in the futsal lines together, if you look.
Yes, yeah, this one does.
That one and the one in there's not the grass one, but the
But-
other, that one.
But that doesn't
Yeah.
answer the question that I think Brian's
Right,
asking,
it
which
does- this
is,
one doesn't-
where's the fence and how much space do you
There's a
have
fence
between
on
the
the-
fence?
Oh,
and
I
the-
see.
And actually, it's showing it in that photo.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
actually shows it in that
Yeah.
photo.
Well, there's no fence in between, in the middle.
No.
Yeah, because on that one, they've got a volleyball. Yeah, well,
looks
it's
like a
interesting
volleyball.
though,
It's like
because,
tennis and basketball.
yeah, I see what you're getting at, Commissioner, because the idea is to have a fenced arena. So
Right.
we need to have all four sides fenced for that to happen.
And in their image, they show something in the middle, but I don't know that it doesn't seem
Right.
to go.
So the
all
question
way.
be,
So
would there be a middle fence separating those two?
I think it's,
what would the
I think
heights
if they
be?
send us a detailed plan,
Yeah.
this will all become very clear.
We
to
can have
everybody.
them do that as part of the final deliverables
I think
when they
that'd be
bring
great.
it, yeah,
Right.
get that
I mean, I'm
detail.
not saying it's not doable. You could just have like a waist-high fence between, it wouldn't
And
have
that
to
was
go
what I
all the
think
way
they
to
were
the,
proposing.
isn't that the way the futsal, or do they,
Yeah, I don't.
see, I don't know enough about that game.
Yeah, see, that was my thought originally, it was gonna be like a 4-foot, 5-foot fence or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was
so-
what he talked
Yeah,
about
you
between
can
the two courts, because
Google
he
it.
was
That's
saying
what I
you
thought.
could actually sit there, I thought, between the
Yeah.
two sides. But again, I think the only way to be clear is to get a plan.
Yeah.
But-
That
and
includes
it-
the fence, so it's not just the court. We want to make sure that it's the whole entire, facility.
Right. And I think, I mean, if we're gonna do it, we should pour for both, for two at once. It would be crazy to put in one.
I totally agree, if you're going to do
And
that.
as part of it, and the other part of it is we want to do this fairly soon. I mean, that's one, this is a plan, a master plan. I mean, some of this stuff may not be another 20 or 30 years, but the basketball court, we've been talking about
For a long time.
for years, and we need to put one in.
Well,
And I understand taking up the space piece, because you do want it 50 feet wide, pretty much.
Yeah.
The length, you can play with a little bit, but you need the width, otherwise you're not, I mean,
Can't run
unless
on
you really just kind of not have a regular half court with three-point line and,
Right, and of course, initially, I was very, word's not insistent, but preferring it to be close to the gym. But after seeing how much open space it took,
yeah.
I think that's the better of the option of putting it where those other two futsal /
Well,
basketball.
keep in mind, it
courts
would still be open space. It would just be concrete instead of grass.
Yeah.
It's- I mean, when
That's right.
they're not playing basketball, you can use it for
are. You can,
Well-
but
or whatever.
So,
you could, true,
as far
that
as,
is
the-
true.
as far as the commission goes, where are we on that? Is there an agreement to nix the one attached to the gym and focus on the two?
I would think, well, that would be my recommendation. I don't know if anybody else would like that. I'm watching one right now, this deal, there's no fencing around it
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm not sure if the fence is such a crucial thing as much
Yeah,
as
it's
it's just
not.
That's-
having the
They're just-
open
they're
space
playing
to
it
mark
on a-
penalty areas and
They're
goals.
playing it on
and
a
as much.
regular basketball court and.
With no fences?
In this drawing, there's no fence either. It's just a line.
Yeah,
that's
it's just
indicated.
lines and they're,
I think the fact
it's
that it's
indoor
fenced
soccer.
might just be
Yeah.
help. Yeah.
Okay.
Seems like you want a
That's
fence
fine.
around it, so the
So-
ball's not.
So does
Yeah.
everybody feel comfortable with the recommendation to remove the one attached to the gym and focus on the 2 courts in the back that'll be multi-purpose futsal and basketball?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So will you note that and return that to the consultant?
Yes, and then the idea is we'd want to have open space
Yeah,
in here.
Open grass
Okay.
space still, yeah.
Got it.
thank you. Okay, onward.
Next thing is we just simply communicate that the PRC was not supportive of the community garden in the plan, and that we wanted to have that area for additional picnic area. That was originally, where was that? Was it I think it was over here in the last plan.
Yeah.
So that has been converted. And then we kind of covered this a little bit, but we had asked for some examples or suggestions on the exercise stations. So we do have the photos on that, if you have any feedback on that. Helped kind of flush it out a little bit. And then we also wanted them to, the base paths for the pony field, to show that it is dirt and it had previously been shown in as being all grass. So do we have that correct now? I don't think we do we? It's just the base paths, right?
Base path,
Yeah.
and then everything else was grass.
Yep.
Because that it's
Yeah.
T-ball.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't have my mic on. It's T-ball, and that would leave the field the least
Yep.
interrupted, so you can use it for things. So I think,
Yeah.
no. I think
Got
just
it.
the baseline.
So just going around there should be dirt.
And
Everything else should be grass.
We didn't even need an infield either. It was just the base path, correct?
The base path, the infield, you
So
just
it's still
basically
grass.
have a regular turf infield.
Okay, good.
Right,
That
I-
was, yeah.
That's how it is, but just on the opposite side.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how it is currently
Yeah,
over
it's just
here.
a turf infield, and then you have a cutout for your base paths.
So that's a minor detail.
Yeah.
We can make
Yeah.
them adjust, but it's important because people will see that and they'll draw conclusions, so. And then we also asked if we could provide some analysis on how to make the park more water-wise. And they did provide some recommendations. One, to reduce the turf areas to only those needed areas and necessary for sports or leisure. They also suggested a professional water audit be done on our water systems. And they said that they could do that in-house by their certified irrigation designer and water auditors. So I'll follow up with that. Also recommended that all sports field turf areas be analyzed and a specific soil structure mix be designed. And also that all non-turf areas should be irrigated with drip irrigation, and all oaks, strip lines should receive only decomposed granite or wood mulch and no direct irrigation. So they provided some thoughts on that, so.
Are we thinking that the turf, excuse me, will the turf probably down the road be taken out and replaced? Is that one of the, was there any for a landscape, was that part of that?
We really didn't get into that, I don't recall.
What I'm thinking is when we get to that point, like for instance in Miners Oaks, they're getting ready to build an assisted living facility. One of the things was that they're doing is a retention basin on site, so any water that is there is kept on that property. And so that might be something we, to be water wise, try to figure in as a retention area there for runoff, and it goes into, it basically doesn't go off into the street. It goes into a cistern or something that we can just store the water, so.
Yeah, one of the earlier plans kind of had some components of that with
Yeah.
kind of the arroyo and the place, but anyways, it dropped out. I lost my thought, sorry. I completely lost my thought, so anyways, we'll just have, it'll come back to me. But it was, sorry, Commissioner, it was a comment that you made, and I want to get back to it. Well, it's just not coming to me. Anyways, and then the other comment was, we just want to ensure that we had the 15-foot access road for the perimeter of the park, which is a little hard to see here. And they assured that we do have that 15-foot clearance going all the way around.
That's good.
They also updated the attached cost estimates and provided a breakout on each one of those so that we had a subtotal. And
One more comment on the
yeah,
playgrounds.
sure.
Is there any way that they could do total cost by area? With
Tot-
surfacing, curbing for each specific zone? Maybe we could just divide the curbing, the matting, and the concrete base by 3, and they're equal sizes, I'm not sure. But just as, I know that we're gonna look at this, I don't know that we'll do all of them at exactly the same time, so it'd be nice to be able to see the costs for the teen area, the Todd area, you know.
Oh, I
It's all
see.
there.
I see.
But if they could just do total costs for each of those projects individually.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be much for them to do.
Okay.
It's still under the heading playground, but it would be tot lot and then the amount of
Yeah,
curbing.
you're
and
right.
amount of
They've kind of
surfacing.
combined it,
They
you know,
combined all
more,
of the
right.
surfacing, the curbing and all of that.
Which makes it a little harder if you're going to actually try to do the, you know, à la carte option going forward.
Exactly. And
you know.
I'm hoping that as much as possible, we have this so that we can pull things off
Right,
for our CIP.
which we understand that might change the overall hard cost, but you want to know what would it mean if you're going to pull blank out or add something in?
So maybe it's
okay.
adding it separate, maybe keep this as it is, so this would be a total project cost if it was done as one
Right, another way to
project,
look
and
at
then
it.
below, do it again as individual à la carte.
Yeah, I'll
projects.
ask them. Yeah,
If it doesn't work. it's
yeah,
okay.
it might be best to have both, or, I don't know, maybe it might be best just to do it by project, so. I'll have that conversation with them, but I think you're right. At the very least, we can ask them to break it down by project, so we
Yeah,
have
because I
that.
think, well, that might affect even decisions you make.
Right.
I mean, if you're looking at it à la carte,
I
and
think
it's gonna add that much more on, you go, oh.
Yeah, I think it'd be very helpful for the commissions and the council going forward to be able
Yeah.
to know
Okay.
what exactly will blank cost. Yeah.
And the playgrounds are really where I'm concerned with that. The other parts are pretty specific.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, feedback? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're moving along.
So we are moving on to 8B, which is commissioner assignments and committee appointments. I'd be happy to table this till we have everybody here so that we can
I
do it
would
once
agree.
with everyone. So if everyone's okay with that, can we move that to the next agenda? The only question is there anything that's not on here that we should be listing and looking at? I know that we added Complete Streets Committee onto this so that we'll be looking for someone to join that. If there's anything else, anybody? We're good? Okay. So then we're on to 9, which is recreation staff reports, and we're going to start with the Ojai Park proposal update.
So that item got bumped from the February 23rd agenda, but it is going to City Council on March 8th. I know the bike park folks are ready and geared up for that. They're developing a presentation, a PowerPoint that they are actually going to give as part of their presentation to City Council. I neglected to bring a copy of my staff report along with me, but we have a lengthy series of recommendations that we're bringing to City Council, including, you know, because really we're at the point now where if we're going to move forward, this is going to require some serious staff time and, you know, spending money and that type of thing. So we need City Council's approval if we're going to go any further with the concept. So we're asking council to basically, if they are amenable to this location, to give the authorization to staff to go forward and do all the environmental study work that we will need to do. That would all be covered under the city's dime, would not be considered any of the contribution towards the project. We would just do that in-house. Also asking the council to authorize the city to go out to bid for those portions of the improvements of the project that the city would do. That's necessary to not get into triggering the prevailing wage. If we put any city money in, you know, if you put any city money into it, it becomes a city project, and you're going into bidding and prevailing wage. So we can separate it and essentially have the city do its side of the improvements to the project, and then have the volunteers come in and do their portion of the improvements for the project. So then all the other actions that we're asking council to do would be to authorize staff to negotiate that construction agreement with the volunteers, also to develop the maintenance agreement to maintain it afterwards, and so pretty much everything just to go through for the entitlement process and everything. So if council approves that location, we would do the environmental work and see what we get from that and come back to council with a report on that. And then assuming we don't run into any serious issues with that, we would then go out and prepare the bid and specifications for the city portion, take bids for that, construct that, work out the timeline, everything with the group, and go from there. So we'll see what council wants to do on Tuesday, and if we get their direction, we'll start moving forward on that.
Great.
Any questions?
Would you be willing to email the staff report to everybody?
Sure, absolutely.
It's out there on the agenda. I read it, but just so everyone has it. And
Could you make a note and maybe send that out?
Thanks, Seth.
That'd be great.
I
Thanks.
had a couple questions. One
Sure.
was, I noticed for the city council agenda, the part of the proposal was that the funding for the environmental analysis come out of the Parks and Rec CIP?
Correct.
Was the way it's worded.
Right, right.
That, I'm still trying to understand how our how
Yeah,
that
and
all
we're,
works, if you
and
could-
we're still working to get the total on that too.
Okay.
So, and again, if really, I mean, the CIP exists as one budget item. So if we were to, if we were to fall short on the recreation side, it would, I mean, it's all coming out of Fund 31.
Right.
So what we want to do and what we haven't been able to do is get the running total back to the commission. And we want that information too, to be able to know what we've got in there that we more or less have set aside and said, within Fund 31, we've earmarked this for recreation improvements and projects. I would tell you if we were to find that we didn't have enough money to cover that, our recommendation would be to take the balance or whatever we needed to take from Fund 31. Does that make sense?
It does,
Okay.
yeah. I guess I understand it's all kind of the same
Right.
pool of money. It seems though that, you know, when we put our limit on how much to fund the project.
Right.
Yeah, this is separate from that, but somehow it's still coming from the same pool of money.
Well, yeah, that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it would be, we're actually, in this way, almost increasing the amount of money that the city would be giving towards the project. If the council goes with that $17,000 worth of improvements, that would be above and beyond whatever we expend on the environmental impact.
Yeah.
I guess I would say it's got to come from somewhere.
Right, and it's
So,
all the same
yeah,
pot.
yeah. So, you know, we look to the capital improvement fund to be able to fund those improvements.
Got it. Thanks.
Sure.
Then the other question was for Mayor Blatz. I noticed that this item on the council agenda is pretty far down. It seems like it's going to be a pretty popular one. Wondering if we could.
I've already addressed it with the committee, and I'm going to be putting that first.
Great.
That's great.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So, yeah, the funding is the same question.
Yeah,
It's coming out of the CIP. It's not bumping a specific project.
right.
But it's that much less to spend on some of these other projects.
Right,
Okay.
right. And I apologize that we
No.
still have not been able to get that balance. We're eager to get it too.
So that one we still don't have.
Correct.
That was hinging on the finishing.
That and some additional staff work that needs to be done to
Okay.
put all those numbers
So
together.
now we have the Liddy piece. And now
Right.
we're just working on a staffing piece.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Just so we know where we are. So it's getting there. It's close.
We're hoping.
Okay.
Yes, we're trying.
All right, so next up is, I think we covered it, but if anyone else has anything on Libby Park Playground and budget update, since we got the update earlier. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Recreation Department revenue and expense update, which is kind of
Did you have some numbers for us?
in a similar vein.
On this fiscal year, do I? Do. So in revenue, thank you, Allison. Revenue, for last fiscal year, sorry. Hold on. I don't know if this is expense or revenue. Give me a second. Oh, no, this is expense. So, last fiscal year, at this time, we were, we had spent, this is just in programming, is 291,000. And we are currently at, 293,000. So a little bit above, actually, and that's not programming. That's staff. That's
you-
1501 and 1502, so.
Do you wanna do this at-
Admin and, actually, this 1501 is Park and Rec Commission, which is a very small part of the budget, of course.
Do you want to do this as part of next time when we do the update for the whole thing?
We could do that,
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I do, and I'd like to see it.
And then so you could send it to everybody first and have it and then do it?
Would you like, is it something we could do, Steve, send these, reports, these expense
I would
and
like to
revenue
just-
reports?
Okay.
Is
If
that
the
something?
commission would like to see them, we're happy to provide them. And it's probably good that we hold off, because I know there was still some question in finance. They were having some tracking issue on the part-time salaries. I believe they were still trying to work that out.
Okay.
Which had inflated the number artificially, so.
So why don't we wait, and then hopefully we'll have the other numbers too, and
That's
we
the-
could have one discussion.
Right, because I think the number you're looking for too is the 15 fiscal year, last fiscal year.
Right.
The surplus, for whatever term we want to call that, the overage
Yes.
between
Okay.
Yeah, and we want
revenue and
the running
expense. Is
total
that-
too.
That's
Yeah.
really the number I think you're looking for.
And these relate to that,
then-
and so that we can do we can do it all at once, I think.
Yeah. Last year, I want to say we ballparked around 110 as the overage, right?
Right.
Yeah, last fiscal year.
Last
It's
fiscal
a little
year.
less.
Little
than that.
less
It
than,
might
but
be
ballpark.
90.
Yeah, okay.
90
Somewhere
to-
around
90
100.
to 100.
Somewhere around $100,000 we would have been able to put towards the recreation CIP from last year.
Right.
awesome.
And then when we get that final number is when we'll do some
Yeah.
prioritizing, which we kind of already just did with the bike park.
Makes sense.
It sounds like to me. But that's good. Okay, so we'll move that to the next agenda,
Yeah,
so.
we could send you reports. That would be a lot better than. Then
Well,
if
then
you
you
have,
can-
then
then
if
you
you
can-
have then when you come to
Well,
the next
yeah, when
meeting,
we're
you'll
meeting,
have
we could
questions.
already have a question, have it circled, you can let us know, well, no, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
You got it.
excellent. And then the next item is Libby Under the Lights event. Oh, so exciting.
Yeah, I'll speak to it. We do have someone in the audience that could as well, and feel free, Allison, to jump in if I miss anything. Oh, thank you. So that event is April 1st. That is a Friday night, and it really will be happening, even though it's on April Fool's Day. So we're not going to get everyone out there and tell them they can just go home. So yeah, April 1st, Friday, April 1st, it is happening. There won't be live music this time. It'll be pre-recorded music. The scratch truck that was out there, food truck that was out there last time will be returning. There'll be a coffee connection will be out there this time, and we're trying to get a couple other food vendors to join. And we'll be doing our balloons and glow sticks as we did last time.
Fun. Okay, so
It will be fun.
April 1st.
Absolutely. Friday, April 1st.
Time?
Free event. 6 to 9 p.m.
6 to 9 p.m. There'll be food trucks, balloons,
trucks,
music,
play,
and lights
music.
again. So
And lights.
I'm so excited. That'll be a
Yes,
lot of fun.
The PD provided the lights last time, and
They're doing that again?
they'll do it again. Yes.
Nice. Okay. Any questions about that event? All right. Winter, spring activity guide, program and class updates.
Lots going on this Saturday. So we'll have our championship finals at Sarasota Park.
For basketball?
For basketball,
Okay.
yes. That's the top 4 teams in each division.
2 or 4, depending on the division.
Yeah, depending on the division. So if you want to stop by, especially in the afternoon, that's the older leagues, and so and it also happens to be the opening of youth 5-a-side soccer. So it will
Busy
be
day.
jam-packed. Parking will be at a premium at Sarasota on Saturday. So come early whenever your game time is. Come at least. Though they're supposed to show up a half hour before the game anyway. They might want to even shoot for an hour because parking will be at a premium. So Saturday, I believe, too, for 5-a-side is the last day that they can register. Is that right? Yeah. So if
Okay.
they don't register by this coming Saturday for 5-a-side soccer, they won't be able to get in.
So, the
Yes.
basketball, all at the John Martin Gym or any
All-
at Matilla?
No,
Everything's
all at the John Martin
Sarasota.
Gym. And those game times will be posted on our website, at least for the divisions, what time each 3rd, 4th, and 3rd through 8th grade will be playing over at Sarasota. And you can measure out that gym again, just to be sure my measurements are right. We had another parent night out on March 25th. Oh, no, that wasn't March 25th. Sorry, that was February 26th. So the good news is we've been averaging about 40 kids attending these parent night out where parents can drop their children off, and for $10 they get all that food, get to feed their children, they get to watch a movie. But our teen program, unfortunately, is not so successful. So we were going for Santa Barbara Rock Gym, didn't get any enrollment for that teen event. So kind of strike two on our field trip offerings. And so the next thing we have to offer, I'll put it out there for all you teens watching our Park and Rec Commission meeting. We have Buena Lanes Bowling for only $15. You can go and from noon to 5, go to Buena Lanes. We provide the transportation and staff. So we'll try again for Buena Lanes. Again, that's April 2nd. And then the next movie, Parent Night Out movie, will be March 25th, and we'll be showing The Incredibles.
Rain or shine?
Rain or shine, of course. It's in our multi-purpose room. 6 to 9 p.m. They drop off at 6 and pick ups at 9. Ages 5 and older. What else do we have going on? Oh, gymnastics. I always want to do a shout out for gymnastics. So there'll be 9 girls competing in gymnastics competition in Camarillo this weekend as well.
Great.
Friday and Saturday.
Did we get them any equipment? Did we move forward with that?
That's on the CIP. We talked about allocating $10,000 in equipment, and they have at least that much in need. So I don't know, Steve, how that is to be expended or
I don't
pushed forward.
I think we got to the point where we were discussing it as part of the Park and Recreation recommendation to council, but I don't believe that it got to council and has been acted on yet.
Okay.
I believe we were going to take that forward as part of the for next year's budget.
Okay.
So I don't recall that getting in the budget for this year.
And it possibly could be part of the money that we're waiting to allocate.
It could, right.
It's on that list.
Exactly,
This is
yeah.
we're still waiting to know what the money
I
is.
just didn't know
to
where we
allocate.
stood on that.
Yeah.
I think it is in next year's budget at roughly 10,000.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but
But it also been discussed as
Correct.
using some of the surplus that was going to, once we know what that is.
right. So the idea was to exactly, once we have that, to come back, have that discussion, and then come back with a recommendation to council to see if we could do any of those things this fiscal year.
Right.
And the other thing that I would say, and I'm not trying to short anything else, but the other thing that I think is on that list was trying to do something for the additional shelter for the CrossFit location, and also possibly doing something in the courtyard area
Yes.
too, to
What
make
about our
that.
bathroom situation down at the tennis courts? Where are we standing on that?
That would be a great question, which I, at the top of my head, I don't know where we're at with that, Commissioner, but I'd be happy to find out.
What, you said restrooms.
Restroom
The
bathrooms?
lower, the lower ones, correct? Or-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mean a total overhaul remodel or just?
I think we added
we
just a certain
talked
amount of
about.
things to it. It was just, and I don't know if he's done that yet, so I'd like.
It was
to-
like doors and dividers.
Doors and dividers.
Doors
Right.
and dividers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
think
was
that's what we were.
Right.
It wasn't a full overhaul.
I would
it
like an
was-
update to see if
Yeah.
maybe they've moved forward with that already.
Okay.
Because it was a minimal cost, I think it was like $3,000 or $4,000 is what I think.
Yeah, I don't think we ever got to a final point on that, unfortunately, but I'll
I'd
check with
just like to
Greg.
have it, see if we could get it done.
Right.
Before the tennis tournament comes in. and everything. I don't know, when do we have, Brian, when does that start?
20th to 24th of April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if there, even if we.
I think we were a little busy over the last fall and winter with the whole playground project, and
Yeah,
we're
I think
still
that
trying to,
kinda railroaded everything else.
but we understand the concern. We gotta get moving on these things.
Okay, so That'll come back to us next meeting, then we'll have an update.
Yeah, I can get you an update on that, find out where it's at.
That's fine.
And I'll just give you one quick update on activity guides. We have made the decision to mail the activity guides out instead of delivering to the schools now. So they will be delivered to all residences in 93023 and 93022.
So you're doing the school boundaries.
Yes.
Great.
Miners Oaks, Miramonte, and all the way to Oakview, actually.
Oh, that's great.
I think you're gonna see a big increase.
Yeah.
when
And
going out
it
there.
didn't increase costs all that much. I think overall maybe 5,000 to 6,000 for 3 publications
And
Right.
it's certainly saving some staff time.
for the year, basically.
Right.
Because
It's
you guys,
saving-
you guys
yeah,
spent a
that
lot
doesn't
of
even-
time putting
yeah,
that
that
all,
doesn't
counting
factor
them
in
and driving them over and, yeah.
all
No, it's-
that.
yeah.
That's not even factored in.
So the postcard would go away.
You would just get this,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Okay.
I
Right.
think that's, yeah.
Yeah, and we did go, we decided to go with a new publisher, the contract. We were in a 3
We took
year
quotes
contract
from what, 3
with-
or 4?
We did. We took quotes from 3. We took 3 bids, and we selected. We actually chose a new company, Jano Graphics. They're out of Ventura.
Great. Okay, we'll look forward to that in the mailbox.
Yes, you should be getting it. The summer, it will be the next guide, which will be our summer activity guide.
So we'll be, again, matching what most other recreation departments do.
Actually, yes,
The
every
Facebook page and direct mailing.
We've made a lot of progress
We
in the
have.
last
We-
few
we
years.
have made a lot of
huge amount.
progress in the last
have.
few years that I've been here. I know that before they were making, you guys are making progress even back then, but what you guys have been able to accomplish in just this short amount of time, it's tremendous.
Big leap, yeah.
Could keep talking about that, not the fact that we don't have the new budget numbers or any other stuff done yet, so.
Things are,
Those will come.
they'll get here. No, I think
We'll get
things are
there.
good. I think so much
there.
progress has been made. And the
Yeah.
webpage is great, and the new online guide.
Yeah.
That is, active, and you just click it. Oh, I love it.
Well, you
That was a huge improvement.
It was really nice, and I went to a JPIA conference, and I mentioned our interactive hyperlinked
Uh-huh.
guide, and there was a couple of people at that conference asking about it, like how we did it, and were impressed that we had done that. So
Very
we were
nice.
ahead of the curve
Nice.
on that interactive guide.
Hire young, tech-savvy staff. No,
That's
I didn't
right.
say that.
Yeah,
Good
that
hires.
is,
Good job.
that does
Great
help.
staff. No, really.
You need some tech savvy young.
You don't have to be young, you just have to be
No, you
tech-savvy.
don't. No, thank you.
Just make that clear, in case anybody's listening.
All right. Okay. So I think we're on to. You're good?
I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner reports and comments.
So after the presentation last month on Area 10 and the part that up on the knoll and the
The
stream.
affordable housing presentation.
Well,
You mean
it
the
was
presentation made to
our
our commission?
presentation,
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
which was the area of that doesn't get into the affordable housing discussion.
Right.
So I went and explored it, and it was pretty nice as they described it. I think maybe this is a question for Greg, Mr. Grant.
For next time.
Yeah, so it seemed almost perfect as is for people to explore, except for the south side of the stream. It's pretty steep going up to the knoll, and there's no clear way to get up to the top, and there was some poison oak, and so it seemed like if you had people using it, there could be issues with.
Can I let you in on a little secret about dealing with round streams and what you're gonna be involved with? You cannot even get a tractor in there to do anything right in there. You're gonna have the environmental health onto you. You're also gonna, and I think you've witnessed this in some of the other things that we've done, like trying to tear out some of this invasive grass and stuff. Department of Fish and Game gets involved. It's really, really hard. They want it kept like it is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there is some improvements that we might be able to make.
Well, exactly, and so I think part of the issue is that in addition to that poison oak issue, I mean, just the fact that you have this steep slope, if there's no kind of designated path and people are scrambling all over it, there are going to be erosion issues. So it seemed like, there might be some minimal, just like marking a path,
That might
a
be
preferred
something we
path.
speak with the crew
Well, I think before we go any further, we'd have to agendize it.
Yeah.
Well,
This is
that's
just
true, too.
this is point of comments, but if it's something you wanted to ask to have agendized, then we could have an open discussion.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's worth discussing as a commission, if other commissioners are interested.
I would only caution, I mean, just to spend the time speculating about something that's a speculation. I mean, I don't know that we have any firm direction from the council on this site or anything going forward, and so I would just argue that that might be a little premature to spend the commission's time on. Certainly, I would agree with you, if it looks like the city's going to move forward with that site, that conversation needs to occur, and it needs to occur early in the process. But I'm not quite sure where we could really go with it at this point, just because it's really just a concept
So
at
it's
this
still in
point.
the infant stages is what you're saying, everything else is.
Yeah, I don't know if the mayor has any further thoughts on that. I know you were in that meeting, and we maybe have a little more thoughts on where the council might be possibly going with this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's really not going anywhere right now. There's some discussions about the property and the improvements that would be made to the property in conjunction with some sort of a affordable housing development. It's one of those tough things because we have a lot of overlay areas in the city for affordable housing, but we don't have any that really have the size that it requires to do a project of any decent nature. And I, for one, and I think the council in general, is cognizant of the fact that, that area, that if we had other sites, that one might not be the first one we'd go to. But we do have an obligation to provide affordable housing, and I think in conjunction with that, if we end up doing anything there, it would then allow us to do a lot more in terms of the recreation on the other 2/3 of the property, because the project would only take 1/3 of the property. But I was kind of left cold with the presentation that we had. I didn't like the designs very much. And there's a lot of people that are concerned about the use of that property. I see some benefit to it because we could turn it into far more recreational friendly, just like what you're saying, Ryan, because that would be part of the overall improvements to that area, would be to make it so that there's hiking paths and things. And once you get up on the top of that knoll, it's really beautiful. So it's really nice, but you look at the property as it stands now, it's so steep in some areas, and where the garden is so, dilapidated, for lack of a better word. But there isn't anything going on right now. We have a few things that we're discussing in the background, but there's nothing that's ready to come back to us or move forward or any decision, and it's not anticipated to be on any future agenda for sure right now. So it's kind of just sitting there, and we're going to continue to probably kick it around a little bit. Any other questions on that? No? Where are we on the agenda? Are you at a place where you still have some questions, or you want to ask me some questions, or give you an update?
My commissioner report's great you're here because
Okay.
it's regarding the Libby Bowl committee that was just formed at the
Yeah.
last council meeting, which will be comprised of a representative of our commission, which at this point, I'm serving that role, the Arts Commission, and then 2 members at large from the community. And so, I think there's.
And then one council member.
And then one council member.
Randy
And at that
Haney.
point, that's Randy Haney. So that just happened. So if you wanted to comment at all on that.
Well, the council is moving forward to determine a contract with Lance Sterling's group for the commercial aspect of it, whatever we can do this year, and trying to look forward to the next 3 years. And that's really the commercial side of it, and that doesn't have really a lot to do with the ad hoc committee that's being formed that Sage is talking about. That's more of a committee that wants to, and you know more about it than I do, Sage, you've been at the meetings and I haven't, but the concept that I have of it, it's a committee that's going to be working closer with the public on helping to develop, people that may have an idea of some sort of a festival that we're not doing now, to advise and assist in maybe helping them develop that. increasing the number of maybe children's programs at the bowl, and that kind of thing. Why don't you
I think,
comment on it?
and specifically in ways in doing that, I think the hope for this committee is that this year will be, I don't want to say an experiment, but this will be a learning year, and that the more we do this year and the more we learn from that on how it works for different users and compiling some knowledge and better information to make better decisions. And I think to make it more viable for those groups that we're hoping to attract, it's also looking at process-oriented, how it works for a user, how they get through the process, and maybe giving feedback on that as a way to begin to develop the ability to draw in a whole variety of different users for the bowl. So that
And
it
I
has a
think
diverse-
that subcommittee is going to be kind of the ears and eyes of the community on how the Libby Bowl is doing in general, including the commercial.
Right, and and just really collecting all that
Interacts,
information and
yeah.
helping to understand and streamline and give feedback on what is and isn't from the community standpoint working.
I think it's an important subcommittee, I really do.
I think it's going to be great, and I think it's an exciting year because this is new. And, hopefully whatever comes in the commercial way, we'll see how that works out, and hopefully look at ways. I think we got a lot of feedback at the community meeting for this committee to start with, because they had the big public, was that a workshop?
Town hall
A
meeting.
workshop, a
Town hall meeting, yeah.
And a lot of information came out of that the committee can take right away and help look at as well to promote the bowl and the use of it. by
Yeah,
all
great
different
attendance
types
at that.
There was
This room
great
was packed.
attendance. All the way
Packed.
back to here, standing room only. Yeah, so,
Yeah, a lot of good input.
So the city manager's office will be getting in touch with the committee members next week, and as well as Councilmember Haney to get that scheduled.
I think there's a meeting already.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe Amber's ahead of me then.
I think that
Great.
meeting is set for next week.
Oh, good.
and,
Okay.
We're rolling.
Excellent. All right. She's ahead of me.
Okay.
What else do you have on your,
I
Council
think-
or
I
the
think we're
commission?
to city council liaison report.
oh, okay, great.
You're up.
Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that the one that's been working closest with your commission is the acting city manager, which I'm very pleased about. I think he's very qualified, and I'm looking forward to having an opportunity as mayor to work with him. I'm meeting out at the site for the bike park with Toby Green sometime between, we don't have a date, we don't have an exact time set because of our schedules, but I'm going to be doing it before it comes before the council on Tuesday night, because I think it's important I see the site and have a little better feel. But I had a question for the commission as to, I think you've, not last month, when you deliberated over the project, I mean, is it a location, and is the design something that is supported by the commission?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, if you wouldn't mind, Ryan is our liaison
Yes.
to that project. When you and Toby meet, if you could loop him in, and hopefully he's available.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd
That
love
would
to
be
go.
great, because that
Okay.
continuity, when he comes back, he can
Okay,
help us.
I'll be glad to do that.
Yeah, and as far as location, Toby and Ben Edwards worked with Steve. They looked at a lot of different locations. This one seems pretty ideal. It's right on the bike path. It's a area of the parking lot that's not used often.
Their restrooms.
Yeah, the restrooms are there. And
Okay.
then as far as design, I really like the fact that there's kind of the small area for kids or beginners, as well as kind of the full-size track, and it's a proven design that's been used elsewhere, and they're just copying that design, so it
Okay.
all sounded
Good.
pretty good to me.
That's important for me to know that the commission's behind it. There's really not much else that's going on. The leaf blower issue was put on the back burner while there's been some discussion over the issue of whether Randy Haney should be recusing himself. And we've gotten a report back from, I think if you saw the paper yesterday, that the Fair Political Practices Commission didn't see there to be a problem. So I don't think he's going to be recusing himself on the issue. Savara has already recused himself, so we're down to 4. And it's a fairly important issue for our community. We've concentrated in the past on noise, because at the time we put an ordinance in that said we could only have electric leaf blowers. Electric was quieter than gas. But now gas blowers can be as quiet, if not quieter, than the electric. So if we concentrate on noise, then we ought to allow both. But then the issue comes into health and whether or not that's going to override what we think in terms of what we want for our community, because there's a fraction of our citizens that believe that there's a real health issue by using them, leaf blowers. And there's a fraction that say, no, that it's no different than the wind. It's no different than, automobiles and things like that. It's going to be a tough decision for the council to make. It's come before us twice in me trying to get a consensus on changing the fact that we only allow electric, and it's been defeated twice. So it's stayed exactly the same. So who knows what's going to happen now. But it will come back probably within the next month or two, and we'll see. We have a presentation that's going to be made by an individual who has a great deal of information on the health ramifications of leaf blowers, who I have said that I'll give plenty of time for a presentation at the beginning of the meeting too. So we'll see what happens.
Would you comment on the changes to the Commissioner's Handbook? Some of it sounds like it's cleanup stuff, but some of it sounds like it's a change in policy as to appointments.
Well, I think it's mostly cleanup, but there is going to probably be a little bit of a change in the process for appointments and reappointments. Appointments and reappointments are going to be treated exactly the same. And the way that we're still going to be interviewing the same way that we always have, but whether there's a recommendation that comes back to the council or not I'm not sure, because we haven't decided yet. But when the recommendation comes back, if it does, it's just going to be a recommendation of the people that sat in on the interviews. But in essence, all of the council people, because it's a noticed meeting, could be allowed to be there and listen, not participate, but listen. And when it comes back for the appointment or reappointment, it's going to be by vote, and it's not just going to be on the recommendation. It's going to be if one council member thinks that one of the applicants is the right person, then they're going to vote for it. And the reappointment or the appointment's not going to be approved until it has whatever number of votes it needs on I would imagine, a majority on the council, which is a little bit different than.
So all of the people who interviewed at any given time will be presented to the council?
Yes.
And it'll be a vote on each candidates, and each council member
Yes.
will vote for who they would like
And
to.
part of the reason for that is that when you're going through the vetting process, and it's the chair of the commission, and it's the mayor, and it's another commission member or a council member, just because we happen to think that the person is the right one, and it's always come back to the council on the consent calendar, and if nobody had an objection, which nobody really ever did, because they didn't know, then it just went through. Well, there was some talk that maybe that wasn't the right way to do it. Why should we three be the ones to choose when somebody else might be a better choice in another person, particularly a council person's eyes? So in order to do that, that's the only way we really could.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted everyone to hear the
Yeah, and
discussion and what the changes.
It's going to make it a lot more transparent in the process, and that's not all bad. But it also, is kind of scrutinizing in public too, which some people, particularly applicants, are bothered by.
So it'll be, just so I just want to make sure I have my head around it. So the initial meeting that's the interview will now be a notice meeting. When the applicants come in, will be a public notice meeting where people can come observe the interviews. And then there won't be a specific recommendation, or there still will be a recommendation?
Well, that still hasn't been decided yet.
Okay.
It
This
hasn't
is the
come.
proposal.
These are kind of ideas that we're throwing
Okay.
out there.
And then possibly it would come back, all of the people who'd been interviewed would go to the council, and council would vote. Okay,
That's right.
great. I just
Yeah.
thought, that's on the agenda for next meeting, right?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And it hasn't been decided yet. As far as the other updates to the handbook, Steve, do you know anything more about that?
I
I'm
think
not.
those are for consistency,
Yeah,
because
I
different
think that those
commissions
just-
had different rules and regulations about, I think it was it appointments and reappointments, and possibly it was attendance stuff. I think those are the things I read. So it's to make them all consistent across all of the commissions so that they all have the same set of standards.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, because I think that was mostly just housekeeping, that different times they'd set them up differently.
Yeah, there's the inconsistency between the municipal code and the handbook in terms of the absences. So that would
Okay.
be to bring that in line with the municipal code.
All right, well, thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else? Thank you for all your hard work. I love the plan. I really do.
It's exciting.
It is very exciting. And of course, at a time when we're trying to get less grass, we want more grass. But I really think that, in all honesty, with a multi-use field, the more grass you can have on it, the better.
Who should have grass? The city, everyone can use as a good
That's
place to
right.
have grass.
I agree.
If everyone's getting rid of their lawns, I think it's even more important for the city to provide really good, safe recreation areas.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
I think that'd be a good question to pose to them. Can they give us an estimate on the net change in turf? Because
Right.
it might actually be going down.
I think it is going,
Yeah.
I think
Because we're
it is
taking
going
out that
down.
lawn area and
Mm-hmm.
so that might be, that's one way to reduce your water use.
Yeah, that's true.
Certainly true.
Well, thank you again for all your hard work. I appreciate being here.
All right, future meeting dates and agenda items, I think we tabled and are moving forward the commissioner assignments to next month. I think everything else is to this, we actually are specifically looking at budget, both this year's, hopefully the numbers from last year's surplus all laid out, and then a look at this year where, like a picture of where we are right now in comparison to last year for next, okay. And I think that's it, right? Anyone else, anything?
So, do we not want to talk about the Area 10? I mean, it sounds like what I would like to talk about is just probably some simple markings for if people are going to explore up there, kind of how they should
I
go.
don't know that it's formally a park area at this point.
It's not.
It's not. And so to
Actually,
discuss any,
I think I kind of understand it's really nothing right
right, it's city-owned property at this point. So I don't think it would make sense to talk about how to get there if it's not designated a park and we're not running it like a park.
Okay.
But I do think that we keep it on our radar for whenever any motion, any progress or any decisions are made at council, we're ready to get it on our agenda and have those discussions.
Mhm.
But what does everybody else think?
No, I agree.
Okay, all right. So if nothing further, we're adjourned. Oh,
Oh, sorry, Vice Chair. I just wanted to add an updates. It's not our program, but I was very impressed with the Ojai Roadrunners are having this big event at Nordhoff.
fundraiser.
Yeah.
Well, a
huge-
fundraiser on Friday night, and then the event.
The event on Saturday, they have some big names at Nordhoff. Carl Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
Mary Decker, Slaney. I mean, back in the day,
Are there 6
my
Olympians?
time,
I
they
think
were
it's 6
huge
Olympians are going to be
names.
there, right?
Yeah, 6. So
Yeah.
Carl Lewis, Mary Decky, Mary Decker Slaney, Mitchell Powell, long jumper, Kevin Young, hurdler, and Steve Lewis. I'm not sure what event. It must be sprints, but he won 3 gold medals. So there's a big lineup going to be there on Saturday. I'm not quite sure of all the particulars of how you get in or what the fee is.
Go to their
get in.
webpage, and there's a link if you want tickets for the Saturday event for kids who want to go out and do the coaching with the Olympians. And then on Friday night, they're having a fundraiser that I think is at OVS. And again, go to their webpage, and all the information is there.
Yeah, those are some big
It's very impressive.
Olympian- Yeah, big Olympic names going to be out there.
Thanks. I think that
Thought
was
I'd
great
throw
for the
that.
community to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're adjourned. At 7:45. Thank you, you guys.